I never expected to find my long-lost daughter shouting Dad in front of the orphanage. The word crashed into my chest like a wave, knocking the breath from my lungs. I stood frozen, the world around me blurring into a haze. It felt like a scene from a surreal movie, where everything was too vivid, too loud. Her voice echoed, bouncing off the ages-old brick walls, raised under a sky that seemed to stretch further than I remembered. The bitter scent of damp earth mixed with the faint aroma of jasmine from the garden nearby. She was real. A little girl with tangled chestnut hair and wide, searching eyes. My heart raced, pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. I had spent years dreaming of this moment. Yet, standing there, 1,000 fears pressed down on me. What if she didn't recognize me? What if I was too late? The orphanage loomed behind her, its rusty gate creaking in the wind like an old ghost whispering secrets. Time stood still as shadows danced ominously around us, and I felt a chill creep up my spine. I remember the fire. The night my world fell apart, the screams. The flames licking the skimmy mind spun back to that chaos. The 5-year-old girl I had desperately searched for, gone in a blink. But here she was, calling me. My daughter? Could it be? I cherished the thought, yet doubt clawed at me. My hands trembled as I took a step closer, heart racing. The people on the street slowed, turning to gaze. Some whispered, others frowned. Did they see what I saw, or were they stuck in their own stories? "Are you really my dad?" she asked, her voice shaking, small and fragile like glass. The question hung in the air, heavy with hope and fear. My throat tightened. A lump formed as tears burned at the corners of my eyes. In that moment, everything erupted. Memories crashed over me, swirling like the autumn leaves stirred by the wind. My late wife, her laughter echoing in my mind. How we promised we would always find each other. I gripped my heart, raw and aching. I wanted to reach for her, to pull her into my arms and hold her forever. But what if she was hurt? What if she didn't belong here? What if I had lost her again? The crowd around us shifted, whispers rising like a tide. "Look at that. Can you believe it?" Suspicion etched across their faces. Eyes flicked between us, weighing my every move. I could feel their judgment pounding like a drum. My heart raced even faster. In the stillness, an old man appeared near the gate, his brow furrowed, casting shadows across his weathered face. He watched us, eyes flickering with recognition or concern, maybe both. The air thickened with tension. Would he ruin everything? I could almost taste the fear, a bitter tang lingering on my tongue. Confusion spun around in my mind, creating a tempest I couldn't escape. I stepped closer to her, barely whispering, "I'm here," but before I could say more, a terrible uncertainty tightened around me. Would this really be the reunion I dreamed of, or would I discover something darker lurking beneath? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The silence stretched as my daughter stared up at me, her hopeful gaze mingling with the concern radiating from the crowd. I wanted to bridge the space between us, to gather her into my arms and reassure her that everything would be all right. But instead, the words got tangled in my throat like old, rusty chains. "Can you really be my dad?" she repeated, her small hands curling into fists at her sides. The strength it took to speak those words was palpable, and I saw the flicker of doubt in her eyes. Had she waited too long for a father who would never come back? "I'm here," I finally managed to say, taking a tentative step closer. The crowd swayed slightly, as if drawn by the gravity of our moment. Barely breathing, I fought through the noise in my mind that shouted "what if?" with a force that threatened to shatter my resolve. Just then, the old man stepped forward, eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that jolted me. "You're Tim," he said, his voice gravelly, like stones rolling over one another. "I knew your wife." My heart dropped. He knew her. The pain of our past collided with hope for the future, and I felt disarmed, vulnerable. "You know where she is?" His question leapt from my lips before I could think twice about it. "Not where," he replied, shaking his head, "but I know what happened to her." The crowd fell silent, anticipation hanging thick in the air. It felt like being suspended over a cliff's edge, teetering between dread and hope. Did he know something that could change everything, the reality I thought I had accepted? "I need to speak with you. Both of you." His gaze flickered nervously between us. "It's vital.no." My daughter chimed in, taking a step back. "I don't want to hear anything bad." Her fragile bravado cut through the tension like glass shattering, and I realized how little power I had to shield her from the truths of life. Anger flared in me momentarily. How dare someone bring darkness when there was a spark of light right before us? "Please," the old man continued, softer this time. "What I have to say might explain a lot. For both of you." A small voice in the back of my mind insisted that I should protect her, to shield her innocence. Yet the fire of resolve ignited within me. If I had any chance of bringing closure, finding out what had happened to my wife and understanding my daughter's life, without May had to hear him out, that I knelt to her level, desperation lacing my voice. "I promise, whatever he says, he'll explain it to you. I will be here. I will never leave again." Her eyes searched my face, and for the tiniest moment, I caught a flicker of trust, entwined with trepidation. "Okay," she whispered hesitantly, head tilting in consideration. With the crowd still lingering, I felt the weight of judgment against us. They had become voyeurs to my grief, strangers drawing narratives that had no bearing on our truth. But what truth was there? Somewhere deep, I felt another crack forming in the facade I had been holding up, the belief that finding her would mend all the pieces of my shattered life. "Let's walk," the old man suggested, gesturing toward a nearby cafe, the smell of fresh coffee wafting through the air like an invitation. It was distracting and comforting, and briefly stole my focus from the storm roiling inside me. As we made our way, I can't help but think about what may come next. What shadowy secrets might reshape our reunion? Each footstep felt burdened with anticipation. My fingers itched to reach for my daughter's, to reassure her further. But I held back, afraid of the weight of my promise, afraid that my presence might never be enough again. The cafe door swung forward, and I stepped in, the warm light wrapping around us like a gentle embrace. Soft chatter filled the air, punctured occasionally by laughter. But inside my chest, shadows loomed. Every slight smile felt like a reminder of what could be lost. Seated beneath the glow of a hanging light, I watched as my daughter fidgeted, casting glances at the old man. He pulled out a worn-out notebook, the corners frayed and pages marked. "It's all here," he said softly. "Everything I know about your wife and about you too. About us." I echoed instinctively. My heart raced, yet dread pooled in my gut. I glanced at my daughter. Would she understand the weight of these words? "Some things belong to the past," he continued, eyes softened by experience, but they cast long shadows. "Many truths can bind us together, but some can tear us apart." Before I could process his meaning or respond, the door swung open with a jarring force. A figure stood silhouetted in the light, an unexpected face from my past, casting a sudden tremor of dread into my already shaken resolve. "Tim, we need to talk." The words hung in the air like a heavy fog, twisting my stomach in knots. The figure stepped inside the cafe, the sunlight framing him like a scene from a forgotten story, and I stared, grappling with the familiar face that had haunted my dreams. Tom, my friend, my confidant, the man I never thought I'd see again. After the day, everything changed. Now, I barely whispered, shock altering the pitch of my voice. The warmth of the gathering faded, replaced by an icy grip on my heart. "Yeah, now." He strode over. A mixture of urgency and fear etched across his features. "This is important. My daughter shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her innocence illuminated by the tumultuous emotions rushing through me. "Dad?" she called gently, concern lining her brows. "Who's that?" The old man's gaze darted between Tom and me, an understanding passing through his eyes, a coded message only he seemed to decode. "Perhaps we should take this outside," he suggested diplomatically, but there was no escaping the gravity of this moment. "No," I said, raising my voice more forcefully than intended. "Not yet." I wasn't ready to share whatever Tom had come to say, nor was I comfortable uprooting my daughter from this fragile moment of connection. "What is it, Tom?" I finally asked, my mind racing, each option worse than the last. The room felt too small, walls closing in as I awaited his words. "You need to know the truth, Tim. What really happened? It's all tied together." What a loaded statement. I'd always believed in the safety of silence, in letting the past remain undisturbed, but here it was again, the jagged edges of our intertwined lives. The old man shifted in his seat, as if sensing the bite of the tension. "Your wife, she didn't leave you willingly." At those words, every ounce of color drained from my daughter's face. I could feel the room shudder, a collective breath held in anticipation of what might come next. "What do you mean?" I demanded, my heart pounding like a war drum. I could hear my own pulse in my ears, the fight-or-flight instinct clawing at my throat. "What did you do to her, Tom?" "I didn't do anything." He raised his hands in surrender. "But she never got the chance to explain. Something happened while you were in rehab. It was a situation no one could control. I promised to protect her," and then he faltered, his voice heavy with regret. "Then everything changed. Why mind whirled as pieces tumbled together in an unsolvable puzzle." "Protect her?" Did he mean she was in danger? I risked a glance at my daughter, who was now grappling with the weight of words she could barely comprehend: dad, promises, and the inherent danger of a world that could tear families apart so easily. "Why didn't you tell me any of this?" He snapped, desperation spilling over. Anger surged within me, a protective instinct for my daughter manifesting in a shroud of indignation. "You knew, Tom. You had to have known something. I found out too late." His voice rose in earnest, eyes pleading for understanding. By the time I connected the dots, it was over. She was gone, Tim. I didn't even know Shed had a baby until I received a call from the orphanage. They needed someone to take care of her. I thought of you. "I thought you want to know." The room spun. I felt the weight of his confession settle on my chest, a crushing avalanche of emotions: grief, anger, betrayal tangled into one straining chord. In my mind, she was lost to the darkness, a part of the life I had to leave behind. I rasped. I told myself to move on, to make peace with what was inevitable. Sometimes the old man interjected, his voice steady yet full of wisdom. "What we think is lost can still be redeemable. But healing takes courage to reclaim." Why daughter remained silent, the implications of the conversation washing over her in waves she wasn't prepared to ride. "Then what's the truth?" I found myself asking, searching Tom's eyes for a hint of reassurance. "What happened?" But just as he opened his mouth to speak, a loud crash reverberated from the entrance. A group of men barged in, their presence sharp and demanding, eyes scanning the crowd. My heart leaped into my throat as I recognized one of them. They were known around the neighborhood, whispers of their power echoing through the streets like a ghostly tale. "Get out of our way," one of them shouted, and in the chaos that followed, a profound realization settled within me, colder than the fear spreading into my bones. They were searching for something, a someone, and I feared that the fragile sanctuary of our moment was on the verge of collapse. "Tim," Tom hissed, urgency flooding his tone. "We need to leave now. They're here for your daughter." My heart plummeted. Each word severed the flickering glimmer of hope, plunging me into a plunge deeper than I'd ever anticipated. The fight to keep my family together was only just beginning, and I was unprepared for the war that lay before us. The air in the cafe turned electric. The atmosphere shifted from a tense conversation to one echoing with the screaming sirens of panic. My daughter's wide eyes met mine, an unspoken question lingering like a silent scream. What was going to happen? Tension curled around us as the men pushed their way through the cafe. I was frozen, caught between Tom's insistence to escape and the shocking revelation lingering just beyond reach. I could barely process the reality hitting might wasn't just uncertainty and fear anymore. It was the desperate need to protect my child. "Come on," Tom shouted, his voice like a whip, snapping me back to the present. Instinctively, I grabbed hold of my daughter's hand, squeezing it tightly, a silent promise that everything would be all right. I turned to Tom, my eyes searching his for answers as if they could give me the strength to make a decision. "How do you know they're after her?" "They took her mother," he croaked, each word agonized like a confession. "And now they'll come for your daughter. They think she's the key to finding what they lost at my mind reeled. The past I thought I had buried was clawing its way back to the surface, caught in the thrall of a nightmare blending with waking life. "We can't just run," I blurted out, grappling for clarity. "There has to be something we can do." Tom shook his head violently. "We can't fight them here. We need to get somewhere safe, somewhere they won't look." "Please, trust me, Tim." My daughter pulled tightly on my hand, her voice trembling like a fragile thread. "Dad, I want to go home." In that moment, reality crashed down around us. Home was no longer a safe haven. Home was an intricate tapestry woven with shadows, with truths that emerged unbidden like specters. "Okay," I said, gritting my teeth against the gnawing dread enveloping me. "We'll get out of here." I looked around the cafe, pillars of sunlight streaming through the windows, illuminating faces that suddenly felt foreign. The old man's gaze caught mine, an unvoiced warning radiating through the tension. Moving as one, we edged towards the back exit, a tangible sense of dread trailing closely behind us. Each step became a negotiation between instinct and fear, and as we reached the door, I took one last look back at the cafe that had been my refuge just moments before. What had changed in such a short span? Then a booming voice halted our escape. "Stop right there!" My heart plummeted as the lead man advanced toward us, brimming with menace. "You're not going anywhere." In a heartbeat, Tom propelled my daughter and me forward, pushing us outside into the alleyway, the cool air hitting us like a shock. We stumbled past dumpsters and filth that reeked of desperation and decay. My mind raced on instinct, each direction flickering like a broken light. "There," Tom pointed toward a rusted single-door garage across the lot. "We can hide in there for a moment." We sprinted, the sound of our footfalls a makeshift drumbeat against the oppressive silence of the alley. I glanced over my shoulder. The man was gaining on us, his allies fanning out behind him like hunters closing in on their prey. The door creaked as we shoved it open, a stale whiff of metal and oil filling the small space. We huddled in the dim light, adrenaline pumping through our veins. I steadied my breathing, but the suffocating fear clawed at my chest like an animal trapped. "What do we do now?" My daughter whimpered, her voice shaking, fragile as a gossamer thread in the wind. Tom took a deep breath, his brow furrowed with concentration. "We wait for them to pass, then we figure out our next move. He'll explain everything, I promise. Just stay quiet." I felt tears prick the corners of my eyes as I watched my daughter, her innocence assailed by dangers she couldn't fully comprehend. This world was relentlessly unforgiving. As the footsteps echoed outside, I wished fiercely for a semblance of normalcy to return, a world where I could protect her from these horrors. Suddenly, a heavy thump resounded against the garage door. My heart stopped. "They're trying to break in," I whispered. "Urgently." "Shoo," Tom hissed, fear mingling with resolve as he braced himself against the door. "Just hold on." But then something unexpected happened. The door buckled, the sound of wood groaning under pressure, splinters giving way to insistent force. The tension in the air shifted, an unnerving sense of inevitability creeping over me. I could feel the walls closing in, every heartbeat stretching time, every second gasping for something more than mere survival. Just as the door splintered beneath another heavy blow, the room jolted with the sound of a new vehicle engine gunning to life outside. The roar thundered like an angry storm, and then, We heard a familiar voice echoing through the tension. "Tim, get down." It was a voice from my past, echoing in disbelief. I blinked as a silhouette filled the doorway. Was it real? Everything felt surreal, a twisted path of emotions leading me here, to this moment teetering on the edge of panic and hope. But as the silhouette moved into the dim light, my heart sank further into the depths of uncertainty. The weight of recognition striking like a bell tolling for lost souls. I never expected to find my long-lost daughter in a situation spiraling out of control, surrounded by ghosts that had haunted me through the years, on the brink of shattering as the door finally burst open. The door crashed inward, splintering with sending shards flying into the cramped garage. My heart lurched, caught between disbelief and the raw, visceral urge to protect. I braced for the intruding man to fill the space, but instead, something felt almost like fate pushed me forward. A figure emerged from the shadows, her familiar contours matching those I had memorized in my mind over the years. "Dad!" she shouted, her voice cracking with desperation. The very sound of it disarmed me, both shocking and exhilarating. Then my daughter stood, Maya, the child I had lost, the reason my life had been stitched together with grief and longing. I could hardly breathe as I felt the rush of emotions grip my heart. Joy, fear, disbelief. "Maya?" I whispered, almost reverently. Her face was ruddy, cheeks streaked with dirt, and something more mysterious fear, clinging tightly to her small frame. I took a cautious step forward, but my daughter took two back, the widening gulf between us charged with panic. "Please, they're coming," she shouted, her eyes darting around the garage, the weight of my past crushing down on both of us. I felt as if the universe was mocking Meth's sheer improbability of finding her here, in this moment of chaos, nearly ripped the seams of my heart open. I moved again, desperate to bridge that distance. "Maya, it's okay. I'm here. We'll get out of this together." Tom stood by the door, eyes wide, torn between his protectiveness for us and the growing chaos approaching from the outside. "What's happening?" he asked, glancing between us. "Why is she here? You didn't tell me you had a daughter." The ground beneath me felt unstable. "I thought I lost her forever," I murmured, not able to tear my gaze away from Maya. "But she's right here." An expression flitted across Tom's face, a troubled mix of empathy and urgent understanding. "That means they know she's here, too. We need to leave. Now." Before I could respond, the pounding of footsteps returned, each sound resonating deep within me, fueled with dread and adrenaline. The men would be on us in moments. "Can we trust her?" Tom asked, hesitating despite the circumstances. Maya's small frame shrunk in on itself, and I felt her fear pouring into me. "I know what they want," she said, her voice trembling but fierce, the remnants of a resolve I had never seen in her before. "You have to trust me. They're looking for something that was taken. I don't care about anything but your safety." I breathed, my gaze locked on hers. "We'll find a way out. Together." Suddenly the weight of all I had lost turned our standoff into a tether of hope and desperation. "But you have to tell me everything, Maya. Now. We don't have much time." "I can't," she whispered, the vulnerability of the admission almost breaking me. "They'll come for me if I do. But I can help you hide. I know places. If what I've been doing this whole time, running." Tom's face tightened, caught in the web of conflicting emotions that surrounded us. "Running from what?" "From them." Maya's voice broke, becoming raw. "The people who took me. They want to make sure I never see you again. They think I know where your wife is." My breath hitched, grief twisting into an unspeakable knot. "Your mother," I managed, my heart cracking with recognition. "We don't have time for this." Tom barked, fear propelling him forward. "If she knows anything, we have to move." A shadow shifted just beyond our makeshift sanctuary, the gruff voices of our pursuers pushing into the space between breaths. "They're coming. We need to hide. Here." Maya pointed towards the stack of old machinery piled high in the corner. "If we don't make it out to the street, we can slip behind there. Please, follow me." I grabbed Maya's hand, feeling the warmth of her small palm, desperate to tether myself to her, as we maneuvered through the dim space. As we pressed into the tight confines of stacked metal, a small sliver of adrenaline ignited in my veins. Hope intermingled with fear, transforming the very atmosphere around us, thick and electric like the storm that lingered just outside. "Tim, you're risking everything," Tom hissed, the tension strained. "You can't let emotions not leave her again." I snapped back, a protectiveness surging as the weight of my past rushed forward to bloom into the here and now. A toddler lost, a family torn, now on the brink of reunion amidst a cyclone of chaos. We held our breaths in the shadows, the world outside feel as if it were crumbling. The footsteps grew louder, echoing towards our doom. But somewhere within the fragile chaos, I could feel something shift, a faint glow igniting the darkness. "Get ready," Maya whispered, her voice a fragile promise against the howling storm of uncertainty gathering around us. Then the garage door trembled with another furious impact, and as I glanced at the determined look in my daughter's eyes, the cacophony of my past merged with the reality of our present. This tumultuous intersection of our lives was the embodiment of hope and despair, and with the next beat, the world could very well shatter. Then, the door splintered again, but didn't buckle completely. Something or someone was holding it at bay. My heart raced, suspended in that defiant moment, as I felt against my chest the weight of choices yet unmade and truths yet to be revealed. It felt like standing at the precipice of unending possibilities, but above everything a revelation loomed. As the door finally flung open, shedding the little light of hope I thought existed, I prepared myself for whatever was to come. The shadows inched forward, and with them came the relentless tug of my unresolved past waiting, watching, lurking, and their eyes gleamed with knowledge I could only dread. And in an unexpected voice reverberating along with the chaos, my heart dropped once more as it uttered one word that changed everything. "Maya." The echo of Maya's name reverberated through the chaos, crashing against my heart like a wave against a cliff. My mind reeled, wrestling with the implications of that single word. It was not just a name. It was an invitation to a truth long buried, one that whispered of connection, danger, and an unfathomable past I thought had been left behind. The shouts from outside intensified, but all I could focus on was the piercing gaze locked onto mine from the very girl I had thought I'd lost forever. A mixture of defiance and dread flickered in her eyes, and for a moment, the world around us faded into a blurry backdrop. The figures behind the door were merely shadows against the pressing weight of this reunion. "Wowho's there?" Tom's voice trembled as he glared at the doorway, as if challenging whatever lay beyond. "Show yourself, Dad." Maya's small hand gripped mine, and I felt the tremor run through her. "Please, we have to go." But how could I move? A gaping chasm of memories yawned between us, filled with questions that remained unanswered. How had she survived? Why now? Each heartbeat echoed the longing of years spent searching, crying out for her, straining to reach a daughter lost in the murky depths of my grief. The world outside shifted on its axis, and in that moment, I understood I was not merely saving her. She was here to save me as well. The bulging shadows from the doorway twisted grotesquely, sharp silhouettes, brandishing weapons cutting through the remnants of my focus. "Maya, we need to go," I urged again, battling against the suffocating fear wrapping around my throat. "Not yet." Her voice was a fierce whisper, brimming with something I had not seen before, the urgency of a survivor. "They want to take me back. They want me to lead them to her." A flash of recognition darted through my Minda, name hovering just beyond my consciousness, connected to a past I had not yet grappled with. My wife's name. The mother Maya had been stripped from, leaving us both to traverse a world marked by her absence. Before I could grasp what I was hearing, the door gave way with a resounding crash, and the figures from the outside poured in, men obscured by the shadows of their own intentions. A knot of panic tightened in my stomach as they rushed towards us, and instinct kicked in. I shielded Maya behind me, ready to defend her at any cost. Then a quiet voice breached the thickness of the tension, carrying a sense of familiarity laced with terror. "Maya, we've been looking for you." A woman stepped into the light, her features obscured by a hood, but her voice struck me like a lightning bolt. "They don't want you to remember. They can't find out you're alive." Recognition flickered momentarily in Maya's eyes before she took a step back. "You shouldn't be here." Her voice was an urgent plea. "You told me to stay hidden." The woman's body jolted as she took a step closer, arms outstretched as if reaching for something unseen. "You need to come with me. It's not safe here anymore." "Why should she trust you?" I growled, guard up, ready to stride into harm's way if need be. A flicker of pain crossed the woman's face. "Because I'm your mother's sister," she exclaimed, the warmth of the truth lacing her words powerful enough to transcend our fear. "Your Aunt Maya. I've been searching for both of you." The world seemed to shift tilted underfoot as my mind struggled to process. I looked between my daughter and this stranger who could not be a stranger at all. It was too surreal, too disorientating, and yet the very idea brought a flicker of hope. "She's right," Maya whispered to me, stepping hesitantly backward towards her aunt. "If she's here, she can help us escape these men," I implored, his eyes darting to the intruders filtering into the garage. "You can't trust anyone here." "I know," the woman replied, sturdier now, pushing back flecks of sorrow that threatened to unravel her voice. "But your lives depend on it. Trust the truth just as your mother always taught you. Well, find safety." But just as I felt the walls around us beginning to crack, a roar of laughter punctured the air outside. The heavy footfalls ceased suddenly, drawn to the chaos brewing inside, and there was a sudden, heart-stopping silence. "Time's running out." Tom's voice snapped through the air, rattled and venomous. "They're regrouping. We have to move, now." Maya's fingers tightened around mine again, a reminder of her presence, the lifeline I desperately needed. "Please, Dad, we can't linger. You have to trust me." In that fraught heartbeat, the weight of my decision crushed down on me. The open door was our only chance. Uncertainty surged within me as I prepared to step into the unknown, a haunting desire to shield Maya battling against the call to explore the frail hope that had just begun to bloom in the shadows of despair. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, I nodded, breaking through the rush of panic and fear. "All right," together, but we moved fast. As we squeezed through the narrow opening, an anguished shout punctured the air. Behind us the men we had evaded were back, and their rage thrummed like a drum leading the charge. I dashed through the doorway with Maya by my side, her aunt just behind, and behind us, the storm swirled back into life-threatening. Relentless, looming just out of reach, we ran towards the unknown, a web of emotion crashing over us. The stirring remnants of grief, love, and a fragile hope flickering ahead of us, even as the looming darkness bore down. "Just keep running," I urged, knowing every step we took edged us closer to danger, as well as redemption regardless of where that path may lead. And as I took the first steps down the road, with the chaos nipping at our heels, the moment screamed with potential. Then, unexpectedly, my heart stilled as a loud honk blared below. A car careened into view, headlights slicing through the encroaching night. A familiar figure sat behind the wheel, eyes wide and desperately waving, a figure I never anticipated finding again. Now, my heart pulsed with dread and disbelief at the sight of another person from my past, too close for comfort, yet so far removed from what I once knew. "Get in," that figure yelled, as the chaos raged behind us, poised to swallow our resolve whole. And at that moment, the weight of everything crashed down as realization knocked at my soul once again. This was only the beginning of a reckoning I was utterly unprepared for, a reunion forged in shadows filled with secrets I still had not unearthed. As I turned towards the unexpected ally waiting for us, the floodgates opened once more. A tidal wave of emotion surged within, leading towards uncertainty. And there, in the frantic moment of decision, both Maya and I felt Itzamething loomed, something that whispered of confrontation and clarity, and perhaps, in the quiet recesses of our hearts, an urge for reunion and redemption. As I hesitated, torn between the safety of the car and the shadows closing in, I caught a glimpse of Maya's face, her eyes wide with hope mixed with fear. It was a look that grounded me, anchoring my frantic thoughts. The chaos around us felt like a tempest, but here was a flicker of lighted chance, however uncertain, to reshape our reality. "Dad, please." Maya's voice broke through the whirlwind of feelings, pulling me back to the moment. I turned to face her fully, my heart racing as the urgency settled into grief-laden resolve. "I don't want to lose you again. We can't go back." With a nod that felt both heavy and liberating, I made my decision. "Okay, let's go." I shouted to the figure in the car, my voice straining against the cacophony behind us. The undeniable urgency buoyed us forward, and we sprinted towards the faint warmth of the headlights. Tom's frantic shout echoed behind me this way. "Get down," but I didn't stop, didn't falter as I reached for the car door, yanking it open. The familiar face of Danny, my brother, swam into focus, causing a jolt of recognition that threatened to collapse the barriers I had constructed around my heart. His expression was a mix of disbelief and relief, as if the mere act of finding us had undid years of detachment. "Get in, quick," he urged, peering nervously into the rearview mirror, as if the shadows would leap at us any moment. Maya climbed in first, her eagerness to escape burning in her eyes. I followed instinctively, swept up in the current of our desperate flight. I felt a pang of regret as I closed the door. Was it really safe to trust him again after everything? "Drive, drive," I commanded, my voice low yet insistent. The engine roared to life, and as Danny pushed on the gas, we lurched forward, propelled away from the chaos that had just begun to feel like a bad dream. The world rushed by, illuminated in fleeting bursts of brutal headlights, and the fear that clawed at me began to blend with confusion. "What are you doing here, Danny?" I blurted, struggling to catch my breath amidst the rapid escape. A flicker of old hurts crossed his face, but he remained focused on the road ahead. I followed a lead. "I heard things. Dad's worried? About what?" My voice cracked, flooded with memories of our father's absent affection that seemed to shadow every family gathering. "Is he worried about us, or about himself?" For a moment, silence swelled as Maya shifted in her seat, absorbing the tensions simmering all around. I glanced quickly at her. I didn't want her to see the resentment boiling over in me. She needed to remain resolute, not caught in a battle of ghosts she didn't even understand. "About everyone," Danny finally replied, a tremor breaking through his composed facade. "He heard something about Maya's return. He didn't know you'd find her." The implication of his words clung to the air, wrapping me in a shroud of dread. What had I stumbled into? What memories of her disappearance were stirring back to life in others? I turned to Maya, who was staring at the windshield, the anxiety resting heavily on her shoulders. "Maya, we need to know everything, and we need to be prepared," I said softly, my voice steadying me. "What do you remember? What did you hear that led you to leave your hiding place? We can't afford to be blindsided again." Her voice broke, and tears welled into her eyes as if the weight of the past was crashing down upon her. I heard whispers just before I left. About Mom, about where she might be. My heart sank, the tendrils of hope tangling dangerously with dread. "Mom? What do you mean?" "They want to find her. They think I'm the key." Her breath shuddered, words falling from her lips like fragile petals, the sweet fragrance of hope mingling with the bitter tang of betrayal. "What if they know I'm alive? What if they come for us again?" Hey. I placed a hand on her shoulder, grounding her. "We'll figure it out together. You're not alone anymore." But the constant thrum of our escape felt different now. The danger was no longer just behind us. It was rising within the very truths we had to face. As much as hope burned bright, shadows lingered just outside our reach. Danny cut through my thoughts abruptly. "We need a place to lie low, somewhere we can think." I know a few people, but before he could finish, a loud, screeching sound sliced through the night, the unmistakable sound of rubber on asphalt. I turned to look out the rear window, heart pounding as headlights flared up behind us. They're following us. Panic clawed at my throat as the realization hit. We had hoisted our past directly into the waiting jaws of danger. All the warmth we had held flickered like the fading light behind us, as the vehicle pursuing us surged forward, more relentless than I could have ever anticipated. Maya's voice rose above the noise, trembling yet fierce. "Dad, what do we do?" "Danny, lose them," I commanded. Urgency sprawled before us like a gaping abyss, urging us to act or be swallowed whole. As the car veered left then right, my heart raced in tandem, adrenaline pushing us into the depths of the fray. But the shadows veered close, an unwanted reflection of my fears. Would we escape the past, or was this just the beginning of a reckoning waiting to unfold? "Hold on," Danny shouted, eyes flitting between the road and the rearview mirror, determination spurred by desperation. My hand gripped Maya tightly as we barreled forward. The warmth between us felt fragile yet tenacious, a lifeline amidst the chaos around. The road ahead twisted and turned, but no matter what path we took, the stakes climbed higher with every breath. And there, in the cacophony of uncertainty, a resounding thought settled. It was not simply escape we sought, but answers. Answers that could shatter the fragile bond we had just begun to rebuild, or reveal the truth behind the ghosts lingering in shadows. As we raced into the unknown, an uneasy sense of dread wrapped around us tighter. Would this relentless pursuit lead to salvation, or would it tether us anew to the shadows that sought to consume us? The engine roared like a beast awakened, tearing through the darkened landscape as we hurtled forward. Each twist of the road brought sharp jolts of uncertainty. My back pressed against the cool leather of the seat, but all I felt was the relentless weight of the past bearing down on me. Every instinct screamed that we couldn't remain on this path forever, yet the shadows chasing us felt almost insurmountable. Maya clutched at her seat, eyes wide, and in that moment, it hit me how quickly our fragile reunion could slip away into the clutches of an unknown threat. "Where are we going, Danny?" I asked, trying to sound calm, though I feared the answer frayed at the edges. "We need to lose them first," he said tersely, jaw set in determination. "Then I know a place. I can't just wait." "Not again," I murmured, gripping Maya's hand tighter. "Not without knowing what we're facing." The words laid bare the truth I'd buried deep. What I feared most was not the kidnapping nor the shadows, but the possibility of his family fracturing yet again. "That we will find out. Just trust me," Danny replied, voice softer now, yet laced with urgency. I turned my gaze to Maya, hoping to find the strength I desperately needed reflected in her eyes. Yet all I could see was fear. No child should have to bear such a weight, especially one who had just been found. "Maya," I whispered, brushing a tear that had escaped her eye. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together." "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice barely more than a whisper. The sheer vulnerability in her gaze shattered something inside me, tugging at a raw cord of resolve. I'd lost her once, and I couldn't again. "What if they do know I'm home?" "We'll make it work," I promised, though the knot in my gut felt tighter than ever. As the pursuit intensified behind us, the headlights grew closer, illuminating the fear etched on our faces like a painful reminder of the past. I was trying desperately to escape. Danny shifted gears, flying past old signs and landmarks that blurred together into an indistinguishable smear. Each sound from the engine echoed my heartbeat, a relentless crescendo of anxiety and hope. In the midst of it all, I noticed flickers of life beyond the road's idea: couple walking their dog, a tree adorned with autumn leaves dancing in the wind. Life continued, oblivious to our plight, but these small moments ignited something within me. Maybe there was still hope. But just as the thought blossomed, the car jolted violently as we hit a pothole, throwing us sideways. I felt Maya's grip slip from my hand, and panic surged. She quickly grabbed hold of the edge of the seat. Her eyes were wide, shimmering like glass under the headlights that were leaning ever closer. "Danny, keep it steady," I shouted. He grimaced yet focused on the road, his expression steady despite the chaos. "I can't lose them. I want," and then a deafening explosion shattered the night, sending us lurching forward. The back tire had erupted, and I could hear the screeching rubber against asphalt. "Hold on," Danny shouted, the car sliding dangerously out of control. My heart raced as the world turned to chaos. Finally, when the car slammed into the curb, it lurched to a grinding halt, my body thrown against the seatbelt, air thick with the sharp scent of burnt rubber and metal. The headlights following us screeched to a standstill too, and everything froze in that split second, the shadows just behind us waiting to pounce. "Get out," I yelled, throwing open the door with urgency. The night air hit us like a whiplash as I climbed out, pulling Maya with me. Danny was right behind us, already scanning for cover. But where would we run? The road was open, yet the darkness loomed like a veil, shrouding our way forward, the danger palpable in the icy breeze that passed us by. Through the flickering glow of the headlights from the stopped car, I turned to search Danny's face for direction. "We need to get off the road now." With a lead so significant, we moved towards a tree line that bordered the edge of the road. Each step felt heavier with every shout echoing. Behind us, just as we reached the trees, the shadows behind us surged forward, and my heart dropped. Their vehicle re-engaged, its headlights slicing through the dark, piercing straight toward us. But then, something unexpected happened. A voice called out from the trees, a familiar one that sliced through my racing heart like a knife over here. Quickly, I barely recognized it. An old friend from our past, Emma, stood in the dark, beckoning us urgently from beneath the foliage, her face pale, yet determined. Memories flooded in, long nights filled with laughter, moments shared before our lives twisted apart in scrambles of loss. "Emma?" I hardly breathed, disbelief wrestling with fear as Danny grabbed Maya's hand tightly. In that split second, amidst the fear and chaos, an unexpected warmth surged through me, igniting the dwindling hope within. Could she provide the sanctuary we desperately sought, or was this yet another false beacon leading us further into the unknown? But there was no time to ponder. With danger hot on our heels, we plunged into the darkness together. As branches whipped past us and the shadows closed in, I willed the small flicker of hope to guide us to safety, or towards a new revelation far beyond our control. And as we ventured into the unknown, the shadows began to whisper, and I realized with dread that finding Maya was just the beginning of a tumultuous journey set to unravel. In the tangled web of this night, would the truth set us free or push us deeper into the dark? The thick trees swallowed us whole, branches clawing at my clothes as we stumbled through the underbrush. Emma led the way, her small frame darting through the darkness with an agility that belied her anxiety. I could feel Maya's hand gripping mine tightly, her small fingers trembling against my palm. It pained me to know she was terrified she should be playing games and laughing, not running for her life. "Stay close," I whispered to Maya, but even as I spoke, my heart raced against an unseen clock. Behind us, the low rumble of engines and shouts blended into an oppressive symphony of fear and urgency. My thoughts were a whirlpool of confusion. How could Emma be here? What did she know? Emma halted abruptly, her breath ragged as she turned to face us. "We have to move quickly. They're looking for you." "Who?" Danny asked, his voice tight. "Who are they?" "There's no time to explain," Emma said, urgency overriding any chance for clarity. "But we need to get in my car. It's not far. Follow me." She darted deeper into the thicket, leading us to the edge of a clearing. There, parked inconspicuously beneath the low-hanging boughs of an old oak tree, stood a battered hatchback. Emma opened the door, a blend of desperation and determination etched into her features. "Get in," she ordered as the sound of approaching footsteps punctuated the air. Danny swiftly shoved Maya into the back seat, following closely behind. I hesitated at the door, the urge to protect them warring with the need to understand. The headlights from the road cast silhouettes of our pursuers, shadows reaching like skeletal fingers toward our hiding spot. I felt the weight of their malevolence pressing down on my back. The engine sputtered to life, and without thinking, I tumbled in beside Emma, suddenly engulfed in the confined space. What were we running from? I pressed. What's happening? Emma's knuckles were white against the steering wheel, and her eyes darted nervously to the side mirrors. You don't understand, she said, her voice breaking. They want Maya. The word struck me like a physical blow, wrapping around my throat and squeezing. Why? How could they know? They've always known, she replied, horror flickering across her features. They've been watching you all along, waiting for the perfect time to strike. Perfect time? My mind raced. This is some twisted game. She's just a girl. Maya holds the key. Emma pressed, her voice urgent yet trembling. They believe she has abilities tied to something far greater than any of us can comprehend. A gift that they want to exploit. Maya sat in the back, eyes wide with confusion, shadows of unwanted comprehension flickering on her small face. What gift? She asked, her innocent voice breaking through the tension and slicing straight to my heart. I turned to her, desperate to shield her from these complexities. It's nothing to worry about, sweetie. But even as I said it, there was a gnawing doubt within me. Emma was shaking her head, pleading with her eyes for me to understand. Maya is special, Emma insisted softly. I thought you knew. She's not just a child to them. She's a part of something much bigger. They can't. Before she could finish, a loud crash resonated behind us. The sound came from their vehicle crashing through the trees, sparks flying as the headlights broke through the brush. Go, Danny shouted. We have to get out of here. Just then, the ground trembled beneath us as our pursuers emerged, grim and unyielding figures stepping into the clearing. I felt the adrenaline spike. I glanced back at Maya, who was staring back at me, wide-eyed and trembling. In that moment, I felt the depth of my failure wash over me. I hadn't just lost her. I had placed her at the very center of danger. With a sudden burst of courage, Emma wheeled us out of the clearing, tearing through the trees as branches cracked against the car's hull. I shot a glance back at the malevolent figures behind us, black silhouettes against the pale moonlight, faces masked, intentions ominous. Hold on, Emma yelled as she pressed the accelerator deeper, the tree line blurring. Into a chaotic rush of shadows. Maya clung to my arm, but her calm demeanor flickered, revealing just how scared she truly was. Why don't they just leave us alone? She asked, her small voice tight with emotion. Because, Emma chimed in while weaving through the trees, there are people in power who will do anything to gain control of what she can do. They see her as a weapon, a tool for their gain. Then came a shockwave of panic. What did she mean by weapon? And why hadn't anyone told me? My heart constricted as I absorbed this new reality about my daughter. A truth that felt as distant as the stars, but as present as the peril nearing our tail. Yes, we burst onto a deserted road. The quiet of the night seemed to cling to us, the sounds from the forest fading into whispers behind us. Our escape felt fleeting, as if we'd only outrun them for a moment, this small window of safety granting us a breath of awareness. And just when I thought we were free, Emma's phone buzzed violently from the dashboard, the screen lighting up with an incoming Callan name that sent a chill racing up my spine. Marcus. I can't answer, Emma said, dread lacing her tone. He's one of them. Who is he? I pressed, desperate to grasp the threads of this evolving nightmare. But before she could respond, the ominous roar of engines echoed in the distance, closer now, reminding me that our sanctuary was anything but safe. As the siren song of danger drew near, a damning weight hung in the air. I feared the moment we would be forced to confront the truth head-on. Yet, little did I know that the shocking revelation awaiting us in that very moment would shake the foundations of everything we believed. As the headlights encroached, illuminating us in their wake, a single thought shattered my resolve. In the fight for Maya's safety, I might lose everything I had just regained. I had never imagined that a single moment could unravel the threads of my life and weave them into an entirely new pattern. As the headlights bore down on us, illuminating the dusty road like a spotlight on our fear. The sound of the engine grew louder, an ominous reminder that our pursuers were still on our trail. But it wasn't just the menacing figures closing in that left my heart quaking. It was the realization that a reckoning lay ahead, one I could barely comprehend. "Get out," Emma shouted, her voice tinged with urgency as she slammed on the brakes, skidding to a halt on the gravel road. The world outside felt heavy, oppressive, and we were caught in a storm that promised to tear us apart. "Why do they want Maya?" I pressed, my eyes darting to the shadows, creeping closer, demanding answers I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. "Because she's connected to something ancient, something powerful that they believe can restore their lost legacy. They think she can show them where your wife, where your past is hidden." Emma breathed, her voice trembling with an emotion I couldn't place. "Sorrow? Fear? Regret?" Everything I thought I had accepted shattered as I ripped through the layers of my own emotions. I had searched for Maya for what felt like an eternity, and now I stood on the precipice of discovering just how far the roots of my past dug into the present. And the possibility that my daughter might be part of something much bigger sent a shiver down my spine. "Mom's gone, what more could they want?" Maya's voice fractured my thoughts, soft yet resilient. The innocence with which she posed the question was both achingly beautiful and painfully tragic. "They want you, sweetie," I said, voice steadying as I turned to face her fully. "They want to use you." My heart broke at the realization, me, sweet girl, caught in a snare meant for power and recklessness. "Use me for what?" Maya demanded, strength rippling through her childlike features. But I could see the tremor beneath her questions, the vulnerability she was struggling to contain. I wished fiercely to shield her from the truths about this predatory world, but knew that lying would only deepen this rift. "I don't know yet, but it's tied to what you can do. We just need to keep you safe," I answered, clenching my fists at the thought of how easily I might lose her again. A loud crack echoed in the distance, drawing our attention away from the conversation as we braced ourselves against the known chaos closing in. "We can't stay here," Danny blurted. "They'll come for us, and there's no way we could outrun them on foot. Maya, trust me, we have to find a way to lose them." "We need to hide," Emma urged, exuding a strength that felt both alarming and soothing in this moment of urgency. Nodding, I took a deep breath, tethering myself to the promise I had made to Maya. "Whatever happens, we'll do it together," I reassured her as the headlights cut through the darkness, revealing shadows behind us that loomed like specters. Emma pointed toward a thicket of trees in the distance. "There, we can weave through those woods, and, if we're lucky, we might find a way out. They won't be able to figure out which way we went. Let's move," I urged, gathering Maya tightly in my grasp as we darted away from the car, my heart thundering with every pulse. The forest loomed ahead, dark and mysterious, waiting to swallow us whole. But before we could reach it, an authoritative voice crashed through the air, ringing with a sense of command. "Stop right there." The sudden halt felt like a snare tightening around us. I turned, heart in my throat, as a figure emerged from the Shadowsa man, with piercing eyes and a cold demeanor. Marcus, just golden as the images my memories held. He was no stranger, but the weight of recognition hung over me like a heavy cloud. With no option left to us, we surged onward, leaving the car and the growing sense of dread behind us. I could feel the pounding of Maya's heart next to mine, echoing the sound of our flight as we traversed into the dense thicket. But just when I thought we had eluded him, Marcus's voice called out. "Again, Maya, come back." The crackle of his revelation enveloped us, knotting the fear in my gut in a way I had never felt before. The magic that pulsed through her veins was real, and I knew she had no concept of what was at stake. "Keep running," I shouted, glancing back over my shoulder, not daring to see if she was picking up speed. The shadows were closing in, but there was something more pressing looming in the forefront of my mind, the understanding that this chase was not just a battle for survival. It was a desperate scramble for the truth, for the pieces of our lives that had been taken from us. "Maya, you have to listen to me," I shouted over the roar of wind. My throat was raw, strained by the urgency of the moment. My little girl did not falter. She pushed herself harder, determination blossoming despite her fear. We reached a small clearing shrouded in darkness. It felt like stepping into another world, a twist of fate crashing over us as we hid behind an old oak tree. Finally, panting and breathless, we huddled together, the tree trunk providing a fragile barrier. "What are we going to do?" Maya whispered, her large eyes seeking answers that hung in the thick air like fog. "We find a way to silence them, to keep you safe from harm," I murmured, barely above a whisper. It felt insufficient, but in this moment, I couldn't afford to shatter her hope. As I held her, I suddenly recalled the pact I had made with my wife before everything fell apart, the promise to protect our family against all odds. This moment, this heartbreaking fusion of despair and love demanded I rise to the occasion. I would not let the darkness swallow us whole. "Listen, Maya," I said, locking eyes with her, and in that exchange, I felt the weight of my own fear collapsing against the weight of our unbreakable bond. "Whatever happens, I will find you. I will always come back for you." The shadows encroached around us, the chill crawling deeper into our skin. Yet in that moment, a flicker of hope ignited in the depths of despair, a reminder that resilience could kindle light even in the darkest corners of doubt. Soon after, shadows loomed closer, the men's booted footsteps echoing through the night. "Did you think you could hide?" Marcus called, his voice tainted with cruel amusement. But just then, before he could step into the clearing, the air exploded with the sound of sirens splitting through the thick fog. Colored lights swirled across the ground like a beacon of salvation. "Police! Get down!" someone shouted, and my heart soared with the weight of unexpected relief. The force of law was finally here. More voices filled the air, chaotic but echoing power. It was an unmistakable sign that we might have a chance. The approaching sirens crashed through our private chaos, spinning the tide against our pursuers. Maya looked at me with wide eyes, the mixture of fear and urgency palpable as the reality was still trying to settle in. But terror hadn't sunk its claws just yet. Marcus' face shifted from cruel laughter to panic, his composure slipping away. Then chaos erupted. Bolts of energy rushed through the air, lights flickering along the scene like a fallen starlit sky. We remained hidden behind the oak, but could hear shouts of confusion reverberating through the clearing. "It's the cops," one of the men grunted. "We need to go now." "Run," I shouted, pulling Maya upright as we darted from our hiding place, the chaos around us pushing us forward into the edges of the clearing where shadows clung like phantoms. But soon, we weren't just fleeing, we were tearing into freedom. The trees blurring past as a kaleidoscope of hope ignited life in our veins once more. As we pushed into the commercial streets bathed in purple and blue lights, I could feel a shift cradling around us. We had reclaimed a fragment of our lives amidst the last vestiges of night. As huddled residents peeked from their homes, the weight of realization crashed in the darkness was relentless. Yes, but together we could face it. Maya's grip on me tightened as I looked down at her fierce determination, and I knew, in that moment, that we were stronger than our fears, that connection would be our weapon against a challenging world. Finally reaching the outer fringes of the throng, as officers took control of the situation behind us, I felt a surge of urgency. I needed to protect my daughter at every cost. "Maya, listen," I said, crouching to be at her level. "You have to promise me." "I promise, Dad," she interrupted, the strength in her voice that surged at every secret barrier, a facade of fear crumbling, a reminder of what we were meant to be. "We're going to reclaim our lives," I proclaimed fiercely as another burst of exclamations came from behind us. The harsh reality settled like a weight, filling spaces where only hope had once flickered. I could finally see that light forming amid the tumult, the possibility of healing, of reunion, and this time, of acceptance. It wouldn't be easy. Shadows would continue to linger. But for once, in the depths of my heart where fear had resided, a newfound strength pulsed alive, and I allowed the warmth to wash over me. I could stand firm and unyielding. Together, we stepped forward into the chaos, knowing that while battles would rage on, they couldn't dim the fierce light igniting within us. And as we moved, merged within the siren night of stars and shadows, the voice in the depths of my heart grew louder, a calling that resonated with every beat. Together, we are unstoppable. And with that unwavering thought echoing loudly, we stepped into the night, ready to confront whatever came next, emboldened by the promise written in our shared bonds, a promise that would carry us through whatever darkness awaited. In this dance of light and shadow, one thing remained true. We were finally together, and that was just the beginning.